I recently went through and watched all the Alien and Predator movies, plus Alien Earth, for the first time ever. So I decided to make a video about it. I'll be talking about these in order from least liked to most liked. Just a heads up, there will most likely be spoilers, and just to clarify, I did attempt to watch most of these in chronological order rather than release order. So feel free to let me know if your thoughts are any different due to what order you watched these in. And again, unlike my Iron Lung review, this will potentially touch on spoilers. Alien 3. I just have nothing to say about this movie. It fucking sucked. It was such a struggle to get through it. It was the only movie on this list I genuinely consider just turning off and skipping. Alien Resurrection. What the hell was this movie, man? It had some cool moments like the underwater scene, but that's really about it. Also, holy shit, whatever this thing is makes the thing from Alien Romulus look like nothing. The Predator. This was certainly a movie. The CGI looked cool and the action was fun to watch, but overall, it is my least favorite entry in the Predator films so far. I just struggled to care about what was happening. Predator 2. I watched Predator and Predator 2 back to back, and I gotta be honest, it was a little disappointing. Don't get me wrong, it had cool moments, but overall I definitely enjoyed the first film more. I would say my favorite moments from Predator 2 would be the sequence on the train, and at the end when they pulled out the flintlock pistol, which immediately triggered in my head because I'd watched Prey only 2 or 3 hours earlier. Alien vs. Predator Requiem. I'm very middle of the road on this movie. Having just come off of the first Alien vs. Predator film, I was super excited to see the next part of the story. For the first 30 or so minutes, it just didn't feel like anything was happening. Kinda like Predator 2. It had cool moments, but ultimately felt inferior to what came before it. The ending fight was cool, and at a certain point, I was almost rooting for the Predator. He was just taking on Xenomorph after Xenomorph the entire movie. Alien Prometheus. Or, I guess, just Prometheus. I really don't know what to think about this movie. It was a very good-looking film, and at first I was very interested in what was happening. Then, at a certain point, it just kinda lost me, and I had no idea what I was watching. I'm also a little confused because this felt like an origin story of sorts for the Xenomorphs. But I thought we already sort of got that in Alien vs. Predator. Anyways, just to sum it up, it is a very good looking movie, and it had me in the first half, and then became one of the more confusing movies I've ever seen. Alien Covenant. I put this one above Prometheus, but not by a whole lot. Once again, very good looking movie. And just like Prometheus, this movie had me pretty interested in the beginning. I'm not totally sure why we have reverted back to the more familiar design of the Xenomorphs, but I definitely prefer it, so I just kinda accepted it and moved on. It was interesting to see a follow-up of sorts to Prometheus and get a little bit of closure on that front. I will say I was able to follow this movie a bit easier than Prometheus. I loved the final encounter with the Xenomorph on the ship. I thought that was really cool. And what was seeming to be a fairly decent ending completely missed the mark for me in the final scene or two. It just seems like it was setting something up, but to my knowledge there's no sequel, and at the moment there's no plan for one, which kinda sucks. I'm not super knowledgeable when it comes to the behind the scenes, so maybe someone can inform me of something I'm not aware of, but it's really unfortunate when you end a storyline on a cliffhanger without knowing you'll get the chance to pay it off. Predators. I went on a bit of a roller coaster with this movie. At first I was really interested in the setup, having a group of nobodies stranded, having to try and work together in this crazy situation. It took me a while to actually care about any of the characters though, but I did eventually warm up to some of them towards the end. Having some Predator on Predator action was really cool, and seeing the different designs of the armor was super interesting. Alien Romulus. This was an interesting experience. I ain't gonna lie, the first half was a struggle to get through, but I loved most of the second half. Having just come off of the first Alien, I caught a lot of the callbacks and think they probably could have done with fewer of them. Also, holy fucking shit. The human xenomorph hybrid thing was genuinely horrific. I could have easily gone my entire life without needing to see that monstrosity. Predator, killer of killers. For the most part, I really enjoyed this. The animation style was super cool, and I was really interested in the 3 stories that were being told. I just wish we got more time with them. Out of the 3, my favorite was probably The Sword. I feel a little mixed on the ending. Not totally sure why. Just something about it didn't land for me. But the connections to Prey definitely caught my attention and make me curious to see if there is going to be any payoff for that down the road. The OG Alien movie. In some ways, this movie still holds up today, but in others, I think you can definitely tell its age. Mainly with how they portray the xenomorph, but there's a certain charm and goofiness to it. It can definitely feel like a slow and long movie, which I think can work, but in this instance, I think it was just a little too long. Aliens. What a great sequel. It built suspense without dragging things out too long. There was also a bit more action, which helped keep my attention a bit more than the first one. And something else that was kind of cool is I can definitely see where Halo may have drawn inspiration for a few things in this movie. Alien vs. Predator. I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie. I wasn't going into this with super high expectations. I kinda just thought it would be a silly little crossover movie, but I was sucked in immediately. I was interested in what the human characters were doing. I loved learning this shared history of the predators and xenomorphs. The action sequences were all super cool. I loved the team up with the woman and the predator at the end. And because I attempted to watch these in chronological order, this was my introduction to the xenomorphs. And man, was it a good one. Alien Earth Season 1. I really wasn't sure what to expect going into this, but I loved it. While I didn't rank the individual episodes, I do have my brief thoughts that I jotted down after each one. Episode 1. I really enjoyed this. Great start to the show. I'm very interested to see where this goes. Very surprised to have the xenomorph this early on. I wasn't expecting it to pop up for at least a few episodes. Episode 2. Really enjoyed this episode. I love the approach they've taken with the xenomorph so far. It doesn't show up a ton, so when it does, it's always impactful. Episode 3. Once again, very much enjoyed this episode. Story-wise, it took some turns I wasn't expecting. Quite looking forward to seeing where this goes. Episode 4. A bit of a slower episode compared to the first 3, but I was into it. It gave us time to sit with everything that happened the last couple of episodes and set up some interesting ideas. Episode 5. Holy fucking shit. This was an awesome episode. It felt like an entire Alien movie on its own. Episode 6. Another great episode. It's interesting to see the attempts to communicate and befriend these creatures that are typically so violent and terrifying. It seemed like there was a little bit of this in Covenant, but I like that it's being explored so much in the show. Interested to see if anything comes out of it. Episode 7. Surprise, surprise, I still enjoy this show. I'm really digging the developing relationship with the xenomorph. It's a side to them that I never really thought about before. Excited to see how this wraps up. Episode 8. Okay, this definitely didn't end the way I was expecting it to. I still enjoyed it. I just didn't see it going here. I'm glad it got picked up for another season, because otherwise this would not be a great ending. Can't wait to check out the next season when it comes out. The OG Predator movie. Keep in mind, I went into this directly after Prey, so I wasn't totally sure what to expect. I wasn't sold right away, but once the Predator started showing up, I was in. I love how they handled him with the kills and the special effects. It just really impressed me, honestly. The one thing that immediately took me out was at the end when the Predator lets out this evil cartoon villain-ass sounding laugh. Like, that sound has no business coming out of that creature. Prey was the first movie I watched on this journey, and I think Killer of Killers is technically first, or at least partially first, but regardless, I didn't have access to it right away, so I started with Prey. Holy shit, what an introduction to the Predator universe. Prey has got to be one of the most badass movies I have ever watched. I basically have nothing bad to say about this movie. I love the clashing of all these different types of weapons and technology. Every action scene had me on the edge of my seat, and because I'm watching this chronologically, it was cool to see earlier versions of the Predator weaponry that we eventually come to know. Holy shit, the final battle. It looked so good. The action, the lighting, the colors, everything was just amazing. Predator Badlands. Wow, just wow. I love this movie so much. I wasn't sure how the film would handle putting a Predator front and center, but it really worked, especially with the addition of the synthetic and the Catalyst kid. This movie doesn't really follow the typical formula for the Predator or Alien movies, and I think that's why I'm so into it. Don't get me wrong, the other entries on this list definitely have story, characters to root for, etc. But this goes beyond the usual format of survival and trying to kill a monster. This story gives us things like loss and revenge and a found family and redemption. And I think these elements can definitely be found throughout the other movies on this list, but Badlands just puts the pieces together in a way that really pulled me in. And I cannot wait to see what's next for our pack of wolves.